Yeah, I up. You guys might remember the other day I made a video about Mirror Protocol, and at the end of it, I mentioned that I was actually providing liquidity for it. So not only purchasing the token itself, but I also ended up providing liquidity for the exchange. Well, at the time, the price was right around $1.70, and currently, it's actually sitting right around 3 times that. So rest assured, it was definitely a good move that I made. But it turns out that I actually ended up making quite a mistake. So today, that's what we're going to kind of get into, the mistake I made and pretty much explaining what happened. And keep in mind, by the way, although I make these videos, I don't know everything about the crypto space, okay? I'm not a genie, an oracle of an oracle of some sort. I know a good amount of things, just not everything. So this is definitely one of the few things that I did not know. Well, no, many things that I did not know. Let's get into it. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you guys through the steps of what I did so you can understand where I'm at, essentially. So when you provide liquidity for a decentralized exchange, what you have to do is provide an equal amount of two different tokens, so that when someone goes ahead and buys one of those tokens, they can swap it out for the other, right? So, in this case, I had to buy a Mirror, the token in question, and UST, which is pretty much a stable coin for the Terra blockchain. So if someone wants to go ahead and buy some Mirror tokens, they need to pay in UST, or if someone wants to sell UST, then they can go ahead and give Mirror. So the point here is that it's like this big bucket, right, with two tokens in it. A whole bunch of those, let's say speaking physically, let's say a big bucket full of two of those tokens. There's a whole bunch of Mirror tokens and a whole bunch of UST tokens. If you have UST and you want to get Mirror, you have to throw the same amount of UST, in value, and take out the same amount of Mirror in value. $100 worth of UST you put in, and then $100 of Mirror you take out. That's just how the exchange works. Well, the only thing is that, obviously for me to provide liquidity for this, I need to not only buy the Mirror token, but I also need to buy the UST, of course, right? Because I need to have half and half. Otherwise, the pool will be unbalanced and it won't make any sense. So I went ahead, started providing liquidity, and I've been providing that same liquidity ever since. But because I only had half of my money in Mirror, I would have only have made half as much as if I just held the token entirely instead of just buying, just Mirror. So in this case, instead of buying 100% of the money that I had in Mirror, I had 50% in Mirror and hit 50% in UST because I had to provide liquidity. So right away, I didn't lose anything, obviously, but technically I already made half as much as I could have made, right? Now, when I was doing this, by the way, it's funny. I didn't even really think about that when I was doing this. I'm just like, oh, cool. I can provide liquidity and be part of the DeFi ecosystem. Because that's really what I was kind of going for there. I really just wanted to have a blockchain I can interact with and not have to pay, a huge fee for interacting with. But at the same time, oh my God. But that's not it. That's, trust me, it's more than that. The real kicker here is that I actually made even less than half of what I could have made. You following me? So just to be clear here, I could have bought only Mirror, and I would have been, again, up, around 300%, with all the money that I put into the project. But technically, I'm only up half because I put half in Mirror and half in dollars, okay? Keep that in mind. So already, teardrop. But, when you provide liquidity for a decentralized exchange, there's something called impermanent loss. And I definitely should have known what this was before I started providing liquidity. And I guess that's what I'm kind of going to talk with you guys about today. I'm not going to go into any crazy math or anything like that. It reminds me of college, and I started to get flashbacks of, of all the equations I used to do. Triple integrals, All right, so impermanent loss. So essentially what it is the losing of value, of your holdings, in this case, your liquidity, as the price of the token in question goes up. So in this case, it's going to be Mir. And what I'm actually going to do here is read this little blurb off of the Mir's docs so you guys can kind of get a better idea of what I'm looking at. So number 10, is there any risk to providing liquidity to the TerraSwap pools, which is what I did. You are able to remove your liquidity provided at any point in time, while there is no risk of losing any of your liquidity in most circumstances. In the case of large changes in price of the tokens provided, the return in providing liquidity may be less than the absolute price variation. And of course, this is the same risk faced by liquidity providers on Uniswap. So essentially what they're saying here is that, there's no risk there's no risk for providing liquidity. The only risk that there is if the token that you're providing liquidity for varies like a lot, aka if it goes up a lot, then then that's where impermanent loss is going to come into play. If it goes down a lot, then it's going to be kind of the opposite. But obviously you'll still have less money because the price is going down. But essentially the way it works, and I guess I'm putting it in a less mathematical sense. When you provide liquidity, as I mentioned, you provide liquidity for both tokens. When people go in there and buy it, let's say the price is going up for a reason, right? Because people are buying it. Well, people are buying the tokens that you put up for liquidity. So what the pool is doing is it's balancing itself out so that as the tokens that you have are getting bought up, like for example, Mir, as the Mir tokens that I have are getting bought up, my supply is becoming less and less because people are buying them. But of course, in return, I'm getting that value in UST back. So my UST is increasing and my Mir is decreasing. Follow? And that's where the impermanent loss comes into play. Because obviously, yeah, I'm going to have less Mir, but they're going to be worth more. Like I'm selling the Mir essentially as the price goes up. Just look at it that way. Which, I mean, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's a safer way to go. Providing liquidity, as crazy as it sounds, it's because you're less exposed to the asset. Instead of 100% exposed, you're only 50% exposed. But listen, bro, we're gamblers out here. No. Oh my God, it's just something I didn't even think about. I guess it's like, oh, I'm providing liquidity. I'm doing right by I'm doing right by Terra. And I honestly I like that. I do like that I'm benefiting the ecosystem by providing liquidity. Granted, it's not a whole lot. But it is enough to be like, 300% would have been nice. But let's go ahead and look at a chart that Uniswap has. And I think it's going to pretty much reign true for Terra as well, since I think they have the same fees. I think TerraSwap has the same fees as Uniswap. But as you can see here, we have a losses to liquidity providers due to price variation chart. Now, so on the bottom here, this is essentially how much the token has gone up in price, 100%, 200%, 300%. And then on the left side of it, this is going to be the total change in value of your holdings, essentially, of the original funds that you supplied to the pool. And in this case, you'll see that once you're at 100%, you're chilling. But as soon as you start going 200, 300, 400, we're hitting pretty high numbers for loss. All the way up to 500%, you're essentially losing 25% of what you initially put in. Now, this is essentially when I saw this, I'm like, oh my God. I was like, no. But you know what? What I realized, though, is that there's a reason why. What I realized is that this is the reason why Mirror has such high APR, and we'll look at that now as well. But because as you see, in the initial stages for early projects, when you provide liquidity, you take a huge risk because obviously by just buying the tokens, you take a risk. But as a liquidity provider, you're literally you're risking the token going up so much in price that you're losing out a whole lot more. You know what I mean? And you can see a little bit here, kind of what the extreme situation here is. So, for example, at the most extreme in this case, a 5x price change results in a 25% loss relative to just holding the token itself. So, it's quite a lot. But this is why Mirror has such high APRs. What I realized the other day, I honestly, that's what I've been wondering this whole time, like why the APRs were so high, and this is why. You'll see that they have a 257% APR for Mirror to UST, 400% for some of these other M assets as well. You might be asking yourself, how can they do this? Well, keep in mind, this is their circulating supply right now, 30 million. When I made that video the other day, their circulating supply was like 24 million. Essentially, the inflation for Mirror is huge. Like the first, the first year, the inflation for Mirror is like 233%. So I think the Mirror circulating supply is supposed to be like 100 and something million by the end of the year of some sort. Let me go ahead and take a look, actually, so I'm not talking shit. Yeah, so the token supply for by the end of the year one is supposed to be about 183 million. Right now we're at 30 million. So, you know, that's something to take into play. But I understand why now. It's because of like the risks of being a liquidity provider so early on. And honestly, that's kind of why I'm like, you know what, maybe it's worth it. You know, yeah, it kind of sucked, kind of seeing that in the beginning. In this, and I'm not going to say how much money I had in there, like, you know, like I have in there. Let's be honest. But it's a sizable amount where it's like, dude, I could have gotten how much for this? Oh my god, dude. And actually, someone in the Discord explains it in a very good way. 010010, I don't know. I'm not gonna, 01. I'm just gonna read what he said. So APR comes from Mirror tokens paid to those providing liquidity and staking those tokens. At worst cases, that payout could be zero. No one is going to be or can take away your Mirror, of course. But the liquidity pool itself has the impermanent loss risk. If the M asset you stake doubles in price, you lose 5% compared to just holding the M asset. If the M asset wins 10x, then you lose 42.5%. This is why the LP staking APR is important, because for a volatile asset, the liquidity pool fee share isn't enough to attract liquidity pool providers. Yeah, and then he's saying here that essentially for a lot of pools, staking the APR, if compounded, will double your original stake in about 3 months. Now, that's why I decided to actually stake it. For getting into why I decided to do this anyways. I mean, obviously I wanted to kind of participate in the DeFi, but with an APR of about 257%, you're expected to make like everything that you made back in like a couple months, right? 4 months approximately. Well, that's 4 months, feels 300%, but you know what I mean. Around 4, 5, 6 months, whatever. So I'm thinking, all right, Terra, Merc Protocol, they're doing some crazy shit. So it's like, you know what? I might as well just stay in it, bite the bullet. Because the thing is that if the price keeps going up, that's why I want the price to relax a little bit, because the price is going up so much. I'm like, no, my stash is going down. But I am still minting a whole bunch of Mirror every day. So the daily returns are a lot higher than the current returns. So over time, theoretically, assuming that Mirror does well over the next couple months, then I'll be chilling. Then your boy be chilling. You know what I mean? But it's still a process. But yeah, I don't know. Either way, I'm still planning on holding my tokens. To be honest, I don't really it's not that big of a deal to me at the end of the day. I still made about so the token probably tripled in price. I've still made right around like 100% maybe. I made about 100%. So, God, that's horrible. Wait, 300 to 200%? I think yeah. Oh my God, that's nothing. Okay, no. Listen, it's fine, okay? It's fine. As far as I'm concerned, token the 3x, I made about, okay, no. Token the 3x, I made about 2x. Okay, so not that bad. But it's still, it's whatever. It is what it is. But I'm glad I was able to at least make this video. To me, it's 100% worth it. I don't mind not making that rest of cash, especially if I'm helping the protocol. I'm making this video for people who don't know what impermanent loss is and some of the risks that come with decentralized finance. I'm glad that there's no rug pull. That would be worse. That would be all. Then I would lose everything. But you never know. I think Mirror is definitely going to be doing some crazy stuff. So that's why I'm just going to continue to stake it and see where it goes from there. If I have any updates, I will let you guys know. And yeah, maybe if I actually end up breaking even, I'll let you. Well, breaking even comparing to hodling, I'll let you guys know that as well. But with that being said, let me know down in the comments below. Have you guys ever provided liquidity for anything? And were you familiar with impermanent loss before I mentioned it? I would love to hear what you guys know. I'm sure most of you guys know what I'm talking about, but I just wanted to explain it for those maybe very few amount of people who don't. But I'll see you guys soon. And by the way, oh my God, by the way, thank you for almost 1,000 subs. I cannot believe we're almost at a K, 1K subs. Let's go, guys. I appreciate you guys for kind of watching my videos, commenting down below, liking all that stuff. It does go a long way, as pretty much every YouTuber says. Yeah, I mean, listen, dudes over there at Library who are also watching this, y'all been killing it for a second. But YouTube is just getting good for me now. So I gotta show YouTube some love. But yeah, we'll see. We're 1K on YouTube, 4K on Library. Guys, we're trying to go for a goal this year. I don't know. Listen, let's call, what is it, February? Listen, guys, we want 10K subs by the end of the year, YouTube, and who knows? I don't know how many on Library, but a good amount as well. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Ooh, sorry. Peace.